based in New York and have a physical office. Another really cool one that's recent is Brink, that's based in London. But then there's also a lot of companies and exchanges, et cetera, that sponsor people. So my situation is that I have two sponsors, BitMEX and OKCoin, and they have an agreement and they provide me with grants, and I, spend my time as I see fit. So that doesn't, in that situation, or in my situation, it doesn't come with health benefits baked in, but there are other contributors who have one that does have health benefits. But yeah, so it's really cool because it's all sorts of different, even the funding models are decentralized. And that's something that gets a lot of attention because it's really important that we don't fall into a tragedy of the commons, one, where everybody like wants to use the thing, but nobody wants to put energy into the thing. and then two, if it was all of the devs were being sponsored by the same organization, then there would be a lot of concern of, is this actually just a singular entity that's driving the development in a particular manner? So I think it's super cool to have people who are funded in different ways, working in different countries, working under different premises, come together to try to build this thing.
It also sounds like it's a labor of love. Like, it's probably harder to find funding and you probably would get paid a lot more in the private space, but you get to work on something really cool at the protocol level. So
yeah, definitely. There's trade-offs. It's definitely not the most lucrative role that I could be in right now. But at the same time, I think one of my favorite things is that I really feel like a knowledge worker. I don't have meetings unless they're like my coworker friends that I enjoy discussing Bitcoin with, or I don't really have much of kind of tasks that I'm supposed to accomplish. It's really up to me to decide what excites me, where am I passionate, what do I want to work on. And I just truly feel like a knowledge worker. All of this freedom to just say, hey, how best can I contribute? What does that mean? Like an 8-hour workday? For me, it doesn't. I can't focus for that long. I really can't. So if I get like 4 to 6 focus hours of work a day, I feel really good about myself. And it's cool that I've been able to tinker and find like what works for me, because when I've been at companies, etc., they define what I should fit. And so even if it's not the most lucrative, there's a lot of aspects. It's technically more engaging and challenging than any other project I've ever worked on. The impact is far beyond the scope of a singular company trying to profit. There are so many aspects that I really love working on Bitcoin. I can't imagine doing anything else at this point.
That sounds really awesome. And it seems like, if anyone else interested, like, that sounds like a great career. And next question is, I've heard that Bitcoin uses an incredible amount of energy. Why? Can you explain that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So mining is running those hashes, right? Solving that cryptographic puzzle, which is the SHA-256 hash. And the way you do that is you just keep running a computer. You just have it run brute force, take transactions, mine blocks. And the resource that it uses is electricity in order to power that. And so one, this is very measurable of how much electricity is it using. And I think that's pretty unprecedented. Like, what do we compare to? How much electricity does our existing financial system use? That's like, because I've wondered when people say this, I'm like, well, how can we compare? Like, do we count all the branches of Wells Fargo and like what it took to build them and like what it takes to the overhead to run them? Like, how can we really compare that? But I think in Bitcoin, it's extremely measurable because you know how much work was done. You can kind of extrapolate these numbers. So that's why it gets a lot of attention, and people like to often criticize that it's using too much electricity. This is an area that I am not I'm not at all an expert on. I just hear like people who are much more knowledgeable and who are deep thinkers who focus on this area. And some of the main counter arguments I hear are, one, that it really incentivizes efficient uses of electricity because miners want to make a profit. So they're looking for the cheapest electricity. Where they find that is when there's surplus on the power grid. And that's where we've seen a lot of mining farms in the world. So that's one big counter argument, is it actually uses electricity that was going to be wasted based on the incentive model. Another counter argument are saying that it's like incentivizes us to use cleaner energies and creates money in order to do that. I saw an article, I don't know if it was legit, but I saw an article saying that Elon Musk was gonna start a Bitcoin, like a solar powered Bitcoin mining thing in Texas or something. So yeah, I don't think I'm at all an authority on like exactly where Bitcoin lands on the use of electricity and energy consumption, but I think I've heard really, really strong arguments for why it's not actually like boiling our oceans.
It seems to me like it's hard to get a lot of the other benefits of Bitcoin without the energy use, because that's the only way that you have honest behavior of like, hey, this, I actually, this is the next block. I worked really hard on it. It's sort of like, being mining for gold versus like, which means like if I can sell gold for $1, I'm probably going to spend 90 cents mining it. That's just how capitalism works. But because otherwise I can just like make a lot of fake money and that produces no energy, but then like no one else trusts it because anyone can just like give everyone else a lot of monopoly money and it's not worth anything.
Yeah, totally. It's a great point. Like it's being put to use like directly. It's not just being wasted.
Yeah. Definitely adds to the security of the system. I guess there's another question about so energy requirements. The fact that it's so high for Bitcoin doesn't make a case for staking as a means for a new currency. I don't know if you have thoughts on that, or we can.
I mean, that's mostly like the biggest case for staking that I often hear, but I don't think that if you sacrifice the other things, if you don't have a system that's secure and inclusive by design and a like global digital system and all these other properties of Bitcoin, of having scarcity, having this distribution of validators, etc., then, I mean, yeah, you could definitely use less electricity. And so I don't think it's been proved that proof of like any model of proof of stake is able to meet the same kind of guarantees that Bitcoin is. And I say Bitcoin intentionally here because it's proof of work plus stuff. There are other chains that work on proof of work that are hackable, that are problematic. Like there are altcoins and forks of Bitcoin that have had issues that are quite significant. So proof of stake is an idea, blockchain is an idea, proof of work is an idea, but Bitcoin is an implementation. And it's possible that a different idea will, sow the seed for a plant that like competes or is better than what Bitcoin has to offer, but we can't really compare like an implementation or something that's there right now to an idea. And I've never seen proof of stake model that has the same level of guarantees, and we won't for a while, because even if it's working right now, Bitcoin has, whatever the price of Bitcoin right now and the market cap, like there's that large of a bounty to break it. The only reason we know that it's pretty secure is because you would make a lot of money if you could break it. And so until we see other systems that are able to kind of match that, it doesn't matter how much theory or how like academically rigorously we could prove something out. Until we see that playing out, we can't draw conclusions.
I think that's very fair. So I think we're getting close to the end. I don't know if any of the other sponsors or Melissa want to say anything at the end, so I'll just open that up.
Thank you, Susan, for moderating the Q&A. First of all, thank you so much, Amiti, for coming here, spending your time on educating some of the newer folks who are excited to learn about Bitcoin and like doing it in such an accessible and easy manner. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for having me and all the work to put this event together. Thank you to everyone in the audience for coming out. Hope you learned something. And yeah, hopefully if you have any curiosity amongst all of us, you have some resources or leads to nurture that.
Yeah, I did paste Amiti's Twitter handle, so if you guys want to follow her, that's a good way to stay in touch with her. I also want to thank our co-host today, Matt from General Assembly and Fiona from Tech Together. If you both want to say any closing words, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be a promotional partner on behalf of General Assembly and General Assembly Boston. We very much, are interested in the crypto space and helping others be able to get the basic understanding of that or anything within the sort of more technological sphere. So once again, we invite folks to take a look at our webpage, take a look at sort of that tech conference we have going on. Lots of free talks coming up for people just interested in skilling up or investigating changing careers or things like that, whether that's remote during lockdown and quarantine or in the future on our campus. But once again, thank you very much for involving us here, and very much hope we can work together again and bringing together some amazing talks. Thank you for everything. I thought this was great.
Thank you, Matt. Fiona?
Yeah, thanks again. What Matt said, I won't draw it out too much, but thanks again for hosting this fabulous event. It was awesome to learn more about Bitcoin, since all I know is that it cost a lot and it was volatile. So it was a really good educational opportunity for myself. And I appreciate anyone from Tech Together and other organizations that were able to join us.
Okay, but now you know more, right?
Now I know that the hype is worth it, but it has a lot of evidence behind it. So I can actually explain it to my parents now.
Oh, good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lovely story right there. And yeah, with Women Blockchain, we continue doing these educational series, both New York and Boston. So please feel free to join us in further meetups and workshops. Till then, have a good night, and thank you all for joining us
Thanks,
today.
everybody. It was great. Thank you.
Everyone, bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.